South Africa is one of the 30 driest countries in the world. And right. I thought I should be part of the solution, not part of the problem. And it's not Sylvester as an individual. It's a global program of problems that needs global solution.
We should all be doing something. We should all be tuning in, cluing in as well.
Certainly, creating a warm and engaging introduction for your podcast. Consider Great Tell Me as a suggestion that combines an upbeat and inviting spirit without any background music. Welcome to Tangelic Talks, your go-to podcast from Tangelic, where we dive into the vibrant world of clean energy, development, sustainability, and climate change in Africa. We bring you inspiring stories, insightful discussions, and groundbreaking innovations from the continent making waves in the global community. Tune in and join the conversation toward a brighter, greener future. Let's get started.
Welcome to Tangelic Talks, a podcast at the intersection of gender, equity, and empowerment with your co-host Victoria Cornelio and our new co-host Andres Tamez. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about the water, energy, food nexus with Professor Sylvester Mpandeli. He is a climate and water expert working at the intersection of agriculture, energy, and the environment. And he has decades of experience, global recognition. He's passionate about finding practical climate-smart solutions that work for people and the planet. And he's just going to help us try to navigate that and understand it a bit better. So welcome, Professor.
Thank you very much. Thanks for hosting me.
Of course. So you've been working in this intersection for over 2 decades. What first drew you to this intersection, and how has your thinking evolved since then?
My background is agriculture, water management, climate change adaptation, and water, energy, food nexus. As you have mentioned, I've been in the environment, water, agriculture sector for 25 years now. What attracts me to these sectors is based on the fact that South Africa is one of the 30 driest countries in the world. And right. I thought I should be part of the solution, not part of the problem. Therefore, I've decided to do what we call transdisciplinary, which means that you learn things from various sources. For example, you learn about biophysical issues, you learn about socio-economic issues, you learn about sustainability issues, and so on. And the fact that, here in South Africa, we are facing 3 big monsters. One is high unemployment rate, 2 is poverty, and 3 is inequality. Now we are facing multi-stresses because of threats posed by climate change and the fact that the population of South Africa has reached more than 60 million. Which means that you ask yourself, where are we going to get more food? Where are we going to get water? Where are we going to get energy? And so on. It's a complex process that needs 21st century strategy. You can't use 2019 strategy to solve 21st challenges.
Yeah.
And therefore, you look at global programs like Sustainable Development Goals and other initiatives that have been initiated by various international organizations. South Africa forms part of the global community. And we have got the responsibility to make sure that, we manage our natural resources in a very sustainable and efficient manner, and also making sure that we conserve whatever resources for the future generation. I'm highlighting this because, for example, the Water, Energy, Food Nexus initiative are directly interlinked with all those 17 sustainable development goals targets. And over and above that, South Africa has got National Development Plan, which is a blueprint, and it has got similar targets like the SDG. Remember, by 2030, all countries that have committed themselves, to this SDG initiative, we need to report and showcase our milestones or our achievement. But we shouldn't forget about the fact that we have regressed a little bit considering the fact that, COVID-19 caught us off guard. And I don't think we will be able to recover very soon. So we need to make sure that,
What were the implications of COVID?
the implications of COVID is that we cannot continue with the things that we used to do previously. Do you get what I'm saying? And over and above
Right.
that, I'm one of the victims. I experienced COVID 2 times, and it was so terrible to such an extent that now I have to take care of my health. Over and above that, I have to change the way I used to do things. And it's not Sylvester as an individual. It's a global program of problems that needs global solution.
Yeah, and you have a very intersectional way of looking at it, because you're not just taking it as this is the one issue, but there's all these issues and things intersecting that are leading to the way things are, and therefore the solutions that we need is what I'm hearing from you. I want you to break down for our listeners, what is the water energy food nexus? Why is this a useful framework for us to understand what we're talking about today?
Here we are talking about the 3 sectors that are interlinked. And these sectors have got, very clear trade-offs and synergies. It's a pity that before the Bond conference in 2011, these 3 sectors were operating in a silo.
Oh.
Which means that the water sector was not worried about what is happening, from the agriculture side. Same applies with energy and so on. But after the Bond conference, wherein, head of states agreed that if we want to sustain our natural resources, if we want to stimulate the economy of various countries, and if we want to improve the life of our people, we need to start to drive our activities among those 3 sectors in an integrated or in a nexus way. That is why every time, we emphasize the fact that there's synergies. We need energy to produce food, and we need water, to produce food. And the principle is that we need to produce more food by using less resources. Our natural resources are depleted. The fact of the matter is that it's either we adapt or die. The reality is that
is one of the problems that, for example, with water, you have to split it between agriculture and
Yes.
people. And since there's a scarcity of water, there's a problem there, right? We need to be smarter about it.
It's true. I can give you an example about the water allocation in South Africa.
Okay.
You realize that the agriculture sector uses 62% of our water resources. But there are also other key strategic sectors or economic sectors that needs water also. So what we are doing, especially as Water Research Commission, we are a knowledge generation organization. Water Research Commission, it was established 54 years ago. We are producing various technologies or innovations that those technologies or innovations are assisting farmers in general, whether we are talking about commercial farmers or smallholder farmers, it doesn't matter. So that, we produce more food by using less water. And over and above that, we need to make sure that, we conserve our water resources so that at the end of the day, we will be able to sustain the agriculture activities in the country. The unfortunate part is that, climate change is with us. If you look at the intensity and the frequency that we are experiencing as a country, you realize that there's a need for us to develop various coping and adaptation mechanisms by various climate sensitivities. It's not only agriculture, energy, biodiversity, health, and so on. And we also need to lean towards knowledge-based economy. South Africa economy is based on coal. And we know coal produces a lot of emissions, which is also another problem. That is why issues related to greenhouse gas emissions is still a big challenge. And South Africa is regarded as one of the many polluters.
Yeah. And you were speaking there about adaptation, like we just got to do something now. What does that look like at a community level when you say, okay, we're coming in with either a project or an initiative that is going to help us in this adaptation in a community? What does that look like?
Look, you need to understand one thing, and if you go to communities with whatever tools or adaptation plan, as long as such kind of plan, if that plan is gonna improve the livelihood of the people, it will be adopted or it will be accepted by various communities immediately. The most important thing is to make sure that we raise awareness, and also making sure, for example, we need to put infrastructure related to early warning system in various communities, so that they will be able to develop various mechanisms in order to deal with various natural vagaries that we are facing. That's number one. Number two, we also need to make sure that we improve our climate advisory activities, because majority of communities are caught off guard because of lack of communication or poor dissemination of information. I can give you an example about the floods we had here in South Africa. It affected some provinces like KwaZulu-Natal, Eastern Cape, and so on. And we lost more than 300 people, or lives. Wow. That's a lot. But the most important thing is to make sure that, we come up with a program of action that is going to be coordinated from national to provincial, from provincial to local level. There's an opportunity through Water, Energy, Food Nexus, and we do believe that we should use Water, Energy, Food Nexus firstly to accelerate the targets set aside by United Nations regarding, those 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And we do believe that, Water, Energy, Food Nexus initiative should assist us as a community of practice to address the science policy interface or science policy gap, which means that the scientists needs to work with the policymakers and so on. In South Africa, the biggest challenge is that we've got a very good policies and so on, but when it comes to implementation, that's where the problem is. And we need to change that approach. We need to change the mindset and so on. And over and above that, as one of the people that's championing the Water, Energy, Food Nexus, we need to make sure that we produce more evidence in order for us to share more, especially with politicians. When you are coming up with a lot of evidence, people will believe you and also trust whatever stuff that you are putting it on the table.
Is the mentality issue on the side of the politicians? Like, it's just convincing them to take action? Is that part of the problem?
Part of the problem. This thing, it has got, history. As I've indicated earlier on, that before 2011, these three sectors were using a linear approach, which means that, it's about one sector and that's it. But after 2011, the understanding was that these three sectors must work together in order for them to mobilize the resources, in order for them to harmonize their activities. These three sectors need to work together so that they minimize duplication of programs or initiatives. And now we are seeing results. And I think Water, Energy, Food Nexus creates an opportunity for us to change our thinking and also assist us to think out of the box. For example, Water Research Commission has been championing Water, Energy, Food Nexus for the past 12 years. And if you look at the milestones that we have achieved so far, it's very impressive. From human capital development or capacity building initiative, technologies that have been developed. And also we had an opportunity to identify policy gaps amongst those three sectors. So, and we always share with various end users, because for us, we do believe that we need to address these socioeconomic challenges that we are facing in the country in an holistic or in an integrated manner. We don't want to leave anyone's behind. And at the end of the day, we do believe that, we need to change the way we are managing our activities, especially if we want to stimulate the economy of this country.
For sure. And you've been in these spaces of research and policy and everything we're talking about right now. You've seen it firsthand. What is your experience being there in a room where things are being discussed and nothing's being done?
To be honest, and this is very, very important. For me, I had first-hand experience when I was a senior government official. I was working at one of the government departments. The thing is, whatever policies, strategies, or plans that we are developing, those policies or strategies or plans should be informed based on the latest science. It shouldn't just be developed, based on hearsay or, without evidence. That's number one. Number two, people who are developing those policies need to work with policy implementers so that there's a smooth transition when the policy is approved, by a government department or by cabinet. So this is very, very important, and it is the responsibility of each and every one of us in the country to make sure that we develop policies that will look at issues in an integrated manner. I've highlighted the issue of the high unemployment rate, poverty, and all those kind of things. Yes, those things are caused by various factors, but we need also, over and above that, we need to make sure that we maintain issues related to governance and also oversight. I don't want to venture into corruption activities and so on. But the most important thing is for us to make sure that we develop policies that will address the needs and the impact that we're facing on the ground.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I can imagine then it's also just, you've said a couple times, the implementation side of things is just not happening. Things aren't getting implemented. Is there a way where, for example, a national policy passes and then we do it regionally and implement regionally? Does it have to be at a community level? At what level can we start implementing?
The thing is, firstly, we need to understand the fact that if you are dealing with issues related to climate change, for example, climate change does not recognize boundaries. It means that you need to work with all three spheres of government. And over and above that, if you look at the hydrological system in South Africa, we share our water resources with our neighboring countries. Like, for example, Gauteng province get water from Lesotho. And as a result of that, we need to make sure that we have an agreement in place, making sure that we share those water resources, and the fact that we share hydrological system. But I believe that where to start, you asked the question, where do we start if we want to see positive results in the implementation? I think the first entry point is at local government, because local government, that's where service delivery is taking place. Right. At national level, it is the responsibility of the government to make sure that they develop policies that will enable activities at local government to happen. Over and above that, government also has got the responsibility to make sure that it creates policies that will assist private sector to be able to generate jobs for our people.
Yeah.
Or we must come up with an enabling instrument that will allow SMMEs or small, medium, micro enterprise to create a job for our people. If we can be able to do that, I think we can be able to reduce high unemployment in the country. And we need to decentralize some of the services to rural or local areas so that we minimize the movement of people from rural to urban areas. If you look at the influx in these big cities like Johannesburg and Cape Town, you ask yourself, will the current infrastructure that we have, will it cope with that influx? And if we don't manage that, we'll start having problems because we'll start fighting for.
Have you already started having problems? Because here in Mexico, we have the same problem. And
I mean, there are red flags already. Because the perception is that, those who are from rural areas, they are taking jobs for local people. I mean, it's a perception issue, but the bottom line is that we need to make sure that, we avoid such kind of thinking.
Yeah, I think in these kinds of conversations around resource management, everyone always falls in the trap of talking about, okay, so how do we deal with these limited resources? Do we limit people? Do we limit how much people get? It gets a bit Malthusian at times. And how do we avoid that when we talk about policy? Because, for example, I'm a very people-focused person. So to me, what is the point of doing something if we're not protecting people? Where other more extreme policies are more about, well, no, we just can't take more people. We're going to shut it down. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. How do we balance that?
It's a tough one. What you're asking me is a tough one because you need to make sure that you develop policies that are pro-poor, but also making sure that, you don't need to squeeze your economy.
Yeah.
How do you balance the scale and such kind of activities? And over and above that, nowadays everybody is talking about artificial intelligence or fourth industrial revolution. How do we make sure that, we capacitate our people or reskill them so that they form part of the main economy? So there are various challenges that we are facing, but at the same time, we need to think about the short-term, medium, and the long-term interventions. And we shouldn't forget where we come from. Apartheid really did serious damage to the majority of black people. But we should not use that as an excuse 30 years down the line, which means that we need to come up with practical programs that will empower our people, but also improve the livelihood of various communities in this country.
You've mentioned a couple of times about innovation as well. And I just want to know, when we talk about innovation, everyone just thinks of, some sci-fi movie that they saw at one time. So when we talk about innovation, what is these kinds of projects or tools that you're excited about that you're seeing could actually make a difference?
I'll talk about innovations, coming from our research and development and innovation program from Water Research Commission. There are various innovations that we have developed, including, early warning system, climate smart agriculture program in order for us to deal with greenhouse gas emission reduction. And there are also other innovations that we are using in the water sector in order for farmers to use less water and making sure that, they use less energy and also save nutrients. So those innovations have been developed by local scientists. Some of them have been adapted based on the fact that, they were developed maybe in Europe or Asia or Middle East. Mm-hmm. But the bottom line is that we need to make sure that, while we are promoting those innovations, there must be knowledge uptake by various commodity groups. And for us as Water Research Commission, we are happy about the fact that there are several projects that are funded by commodity groups, and they are coming up with very interesting innovations. The good thing when you are collaborating with industry or commodity groups, you are sort of guaranteed that, recommendations or outcomes from the project will be adopted by industry as soon as possible.
Right.
Based on the fact that whatever research and development activities that we do as Water Research Commission, we have a expert committee that will peer review each and every deliverables or each and every report that emerge or technologies that emerge from our research and development activities. That approach, firstly, it's user-friendly, it's well accepted because it's like you peer review your work before you take it out to the public domain.
And it ties back to what you were saying earlier about having more information. We need to make sure that people have the information, have these early warning signs, for example, so we can avoid catastrophes in this case. It sounds, when I hear you talking about this, It sounds a lot in the same way that people talk about disaster risk management and dealing, for example, with an earthquake or a hurricane and these kinds of things. Do you think that's a useful approach to dealing with climate change? Or, for example, the health aspect? A lot of people, we're comparing climate change to COVID. So is there a better framework we could be using to kind of hammer the point home that there's a lot we need to do and we need to start preparing?
I think, to be honest, firstly, we need to acknowledge the fact that climate change is here with us. And over and above that, what we need to do is to make sure that, we prepare ourselves mentally. We need to invest in infrastructure that will be able to withstand any natural disaster. I don't think the current infrastructure that we have meet those requirements. And over and above that, we need to invest in human development so that, we have more voices that will assist various communities. Over and above that, the way we plan our human settlement, the way we plan, any other development, we should make sure that, we don't plan development, for example, in a low-lying area. We know that, when it rains, chances of being flooded, considering the fact that you are in a low-lying area, it's 95%. It's a reality. Over and above that, the current, infrastructure like the drainage systems and so on, we need to clean them, making sure if you see floods happening in townships, especially here in South Africa, that's where you realize that we are not really maintaining our infrastructure properly. And there's a need for us to be proactive so that at the end of the day, we reduce damage. But it needs teamwork. It is not only the responsibility of government, it's all of us, academics, NGOs, communities, government officials or policymakers, politicians, and so on. And that is why one of the strategies that we use at Water Research Commission is to make sure that each and every project, it's either at the end of the project, it should produce a policy brief or ministerial brief or parliamentary brief, so that they are aware about what is happening in different community or different provinces in the country.
And I think that's a great way to wrap it up. It is all of us. We should all be doing something. We should all be tuning in, cluing in as well. And I really appreciate the way that you talk about things in a very practical manner. You have examples, you have things to cite to show us. I think climate change can be a lot of times a very imaginative subject, and you being able to ground it in this way, I think really gives us a bit of perspective. So thank you so much, Professor Sylvester. And we're not done. We're going to stay with Professor Sylvester for a little bit longer to do our Q&A, which you can find in the blog at tangeliclife.org. This was the Water, Energy, Food Nexus with Professor Mpandeli, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. Thank you.
lights to brighter days. Equity rising, voices strong. We're building tomorrow where we all belong. Tangelic Talks, energy, equity, pride, empowering the world side by side. A spark becomes a fire, a vision that's true. Together we rise, it starts with you.